Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the movie Battleground. I am Chad Webb. I am your host for today because Aaron had something come up at the last second, I think. But I decided to fill in because I was like, why not? The movie Battleground's always fun to watch, even if I'm not judging or playing. So, let's host a match. Today we got a really, really fun one. This is actually a rematch, but it is also an entry in the brand new tournament that we have here. Very, very exciting. And the rematch is between Alan Shepard and Will Cohen, which they had a really fun match previously. And I'm very excited to see what they have for us today. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Let's introduce our first competitor. We have Dr. Spaceman. Alan Shepard is here with a record of 4-3. How's it going, Alan?
Yeah, 4-3. Doing all right. First things I gotta say is, everybody out there throw some aloha and some love and thoughts and prayers to the people of Maui Island. A whole city was destroyed by wildfires, Lahaina. So we're doing all we can to try to help those people. But a lot of people lost everything, and we just want to give them some love and aloha, so that they can rebuild and prosper in the future. But I am very, very excited to be here. I'm always having fun with the Battleground. So, and Will, he's always a blast, no matter what, whether I'm judging him, whether I'm fighting him. It's all love, it's all fun. So I'm just had to have a good time and be entertained as well as you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking forward to watching this match between you guys, because you guys always throw out some like crazy stuff or stuff like that. I know Will normally does. Are you prepared for any weird shenanigans he has up his sleeve?
Always, I mean, I love weird shenanigans. That's part of why we love this community, because everybody got their own weird shenanigans they like to pull. So, of course.
Very, very true. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll go ahead, kick you out, bring in your opponent. All right, very, very good words there from Alan. And we'll bring in Will Cohen, the virtuoso. I probably should have said that first, but let me change over your thing here. You are 6-5 with one knockout. That's very impressive. That's something I do not have. How's it going, Will?
It's going. When I first found out about this rematch, I had thoughts, but all my thoughts were good thoughts. Of course, I knew what I knew right away what some of the strengths were probably going to be, and so I tried my best to prepare for all sorts of shenanigans. But then it turned out that the questions brought on the shenanigans, and so I'm prepared for just about anything. But the last time Ellen and I played, it was a lot of fun. We were laughing the entire time. We had, I'm pretty sure that if Aaron hadn't started drinking, he probably did after that match, because we just made absolute chaos. Um, but uh, Alan did deliver me my first loss in here. I was 1-0 when I played him. And I feel like over the course of the year and a half since then, I have actually became a stronger player, even though my record doesn't show that. So let's just see what happens.
Sure, yeah. I know you're prepared to make it weird. And just in talking in comments with you, talking about making it nutty. So I know you're trying to have some fun, and that's always good to see. Always good for the fun matches. So yeah. Well, good. Let's go ahead and get it underway. All right. Okay, so Movie Battleground is a best of 5 rounds. First player to 3 points wins the match. Each round is worth 1 point. 3 points in a row is a win by knockout. A tie after 4 activates round 5. The blind round, we'll get to that if we get to that. Okay, so we're going to go into our regulation debate. It's the first 4 rounds. Each stage of a question is there's 4 stages. One is the 60-second opening argument, and then we're going to go into a 2-minute solo pitch. And then after that, we will have a 4-minute open debate where you both talk a lot, hopefully not angrily, but we'll see. And then you will close it out with a final 60-second closing, where you need to get some extra points in there to hopefully sway those judges. Speaking of the judges, we have 3 great judges in the background. We have Chris Diaz, my wife Carrie Webb, and we have Jeremy Potters. So looking forward to seeing what they think. All right, I think that was all of the rules. Yeah, so now we will go ahead and get into it with the first question. Let me bust myself out of here. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we can still hear you.
Perfect. I did that correctly then. All right. So let's talk about the first question, which is, this is not a surprise if you know one of our competitors. It makes a lot of sense that this is the first question. He does this all the time, but I love it because it's his big thing, and I have my big thing, which I can't normally do because everybody loves the thing that I love, but it's okay. The question 1 is, what is the worst MonsterVerse film of the 2000s? So we're going into a specific decade here of this this whole thing. Whoops, I added Carrie. He needs to make an edit there. All right. Cut. All right. So now we're going to get into this question here. What is the worst MonsterVerse film of the 2000s? Looking forward to hear that. Shit, you know what? I didn't add the timer. Yeah, I'm making a lot of mistakes here. All right, sorry guys.
Unlimited time. Let's go.
We get to debate at some point. All right, let me. How do I add the timer? Oh, present. Okay. Shut up, Carrie. Your file. Wait, no, it's in my. Is mine downloads? Oh, are we doing a new timer? I can't even remember if we're doing a new.
Did you say a nude timer?
New
that would be interesting.
No.
Oh, new. Oh, okay.
No, it's not after dark.
Gotta keep it family friendly.
Yeah. Okay. So I think he sent me a timer recently.
Yeah.
Me.
Timer.
Aaron, I'm very confused, and I'm sorry. Okay.
It's all right.
Hold on, Aaron. Let me check for Aaron's emails.
You multitasking, bro. You multitasking, and you got your wife and baby working for you. So you're on.
He sent me a speed round timer. That's only for title matches.
Oh no, let's not have just nothing but speed rounds. Oh no. Gosh.
Okay, so no, I don't want to.
Can't handle that.
Video file. Let me find it. I'm sorry. One sec. Downloads. Timer. I will get it. I'll get a timer.
A timer.
Yeah.
Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a time. Yeah, boy. Look at you making it happen.
And then when I add it, it'll start and I can pause it. Okay. We're good to go. All right. So let me do the thing. All right, guys. So we're going to get into this. I'm going to add the timer and then wait. Will goes first on questions 1 and 3, and Alan goes first on questions 2 and 4. Because Will is the favorite in the match by like 1 spot, I think. So that we're going to get into it. Will, when you're ready, you can start with your 60-second opening.
So you would have thought that after 1998's Godzilla, that things would have gone uphill, but Jesus Christ, they did not for Godzilla. So when it comes to Godzilla, you can either go like with just complete action, or you can just make it even a bigger train wreck than it is. And it feels like that was the mission statement for Godzilla Final Wars, where these guys were clearly clearly just throwing everything they could against the wall to see what would stick. And unfortunately, everything did for them. It kind of feels like this was the film that was made by a bunch of yes men going, hey, why don't we try this? Sure, why not? Why don't we add this in there? Sure, why not? And instead of making a coherent film, even critics said, when movie critics are complaining that your Godzilla film is incoherent, you are the one who messed up. Godzilla Final Wars, easily the worst Godzilla film of this time period.
All right, solid, solid. Now we will go over to Alan for his opening minute whenever he's ready.
The beauty of Godzilla, and yes, I'm the reason of us always talking about Godzilla in some way, is because it's my favorite love. My favorite is he's always my favorite action hero, my favorite villain, my favorite everything is Godzilla. I've been in love with Godzilla from when I was 3 years old. My third word in life was Godzilla. That's no joke. That's no lie. I really, really love the character. And the beautiful part about being a Godzilla fan is we have a plethora of films to choose from. And most Godzilla fans can agree there's some in the Shoya area that are terrible. There's some in the Heisei area that are terrible. There's some in the Millennium series, now these legendary series that are terrible. But in the Millennium series, which the Godzilla films that we are talking about are in, by far, the worst one is Godzilla versus Megaguirus. Everyone forgets Megaguirus. I forgot Megaguirus. Megaguirus is a terrible villain and a terrible foe for Godzilla, and thus a terrible Godzilla film.
All right. So now we will go to the 2-minute expansion. Back to Will whenever he is ready.
So it's very apparent to me that this film decided to try and chase trends of what was going on. And in 2003, when this film was being made, we were seeing a great box office performance from X2 X-Men United. And so clearly someone in the writing room said, hey, why don't we add mutants to Godzilla? And someone did not say no to it. Yes, literally, there are mutants in this film. There's a group of human characters that are literally mutants. And then on top of it, you have the aliens known as Zillions, but then some of them are just known as X. I wonder what trend they were chasing there. And it doesn't get better. The director, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name because I'm really bad at these things, but he was clearly out of his depth because normally he was only making films about the Yakuza and murder mystery type things. And the last time we had that with Bryan Singer, at least, when he went from Usual Suspects to X-Men, at least he didn't try and tie Godzilla into the goddamn franchise, which this guy tried to do. This movie is just a mess from start to finish. At least with Megaguirus, you're getting the same thing over and over again. Yeah, it's maybe one of the lower tier villains, but at least with the film, it kind of feels like it's hitting all the same paces that your typical Godzilla film does. It's still Godzilla versus a monster, and they're wrecking the shit out of a city. You can't get anything better than that. At least that film didn't try and elevate itself above anything else. At least it didn't try and chase any trends of what was going on. Where Final Wars absolutely chased all of those trends to a sickening point, to the point where, again, critics who normally like Godzilla films said this film was just an incoherent mess. And so this is easily still the worst of this franchise.
All right. Great stuff. Let's go over to Alan for his 2-minute whenever he's ready.
Godzilla films are generally made for the Godzilla fan. When Toho went into making Godzilla films, they've got a market that they know they're going to hit. And the beautiful part about Godzilla Final Wars is they were saying, hey, it wasn't just throwing everything to see what would stick. It was saying this is a love letter to Godzilla, because they thought this was going to be it. This was maybe going to be the last Godzilla film. So they threw everything at it. And the whole the Zillions and the mutants and stuff like that was based off of the Shoya era Godzilla film, Attack of Monster Zero. So that the planet X was the planet that, the aliens came from, that brought King Ghidorah to the Earth, so that Godzilla had to fight them and all the monsters fight. And that's what you get with the Godzilla Final Wars. It was hey, we're bringing back all these monsters that you love, that and they're going to come and have a big one last birthday bash battle with Godzilla because that's what we want to see. Megaguirus was a new thing they were trying, and it failed. No one remembers Megaguirus because it was a dragonfly, a giant dragonfly. They had all this time to figure out a new villain, and they come up with this big dragonfly that didn't make any sense because it came from a black hole gun they tried to kill Godzilla with. And they tried that earlier with Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, and that wasn't the most well received in the Heisei area. So why'd they try it again in this new Millennium series when they had a good thing going with Godzilla 2000? They have a new design for Godzilla, which is easily the weakest design of Godzilla, but they had some momentum going, and they tried to top it or sequelize it with Megaguirus. The same thing they tried with Space Godzilla, but wasn't even as a cool design. It was this giant dragonfly that no one can remember. You're not seeing Legendary isn't trying to bring back Megaguirus. They brought back Rodan, King Ghidorah, Mothra, because those are the monsters people know. Those monsters in Final Wars. Megaguirus, forgettable.
All right, that's time. Cool. So now we are going to go ahead and get into the 4-minute expansion, and that timer will start whenever anyone starts talking.
When everyone starts talking.
So
Go ahead.
So the one thing that that I kind of wanted to address that I found interesting is it said that no one remembers this and no one liked Megaguirus, but the thing is that when you look at the Rotten Tomato scores, the Rotten Tomato scores are actually 10 points higher than Final Wars is. It's sitting at a 60% versus Final Wars 50%. So it was barely rotten, almost to the point of being fresh at 60, whereas Final Wars was actually at 50%. So right there, you're telling me, if you're going to tell me that no one remembers this and no one liked this, clearly some people did, and clearly it did find its audience.
That's the critics. If you look at the critics score, you look at that audience score, which the Godzilla films are made for their Godzilla audience, it is 47. Bruh, Megaguirus is 47. It's nothing. And Final Wars is 71%. So that's the audience score. That's what these films were made for. And Final Wars was made for the Godzilla fans. They took everything they had previously and went in with it. It wasn't just seeing what would stick. It was, what do the fans love? If this is going to be the last hurrah for Godzilla, let's give them what they want. You've got some of the best designs and some of the best classic monsters. You've got all of them showing up. Even Hidora, the smog monster, came back and had a nice little moment. And all these beautiful, amazing monsters that people wanted to see them fight. And that's what they got. They got these huge fights, and it was incredible.
Okay, but the problem is, though, is that if you're going to look at a franchise, you can't just base it on what the fans' reaction is. You have to look at all reactions, and including people who were just starting to get into this franchise. Because, face the facts, there are some people who didn't just jump on board with Godzilla until that 1998 train wreck of a film, and they decided to go back, decided to see what was going to come after it. And so there are people who jumped on that, and those people are not going to look at it the same way. They're going to look at, okay, well, versus Megaguirus. Yeah, it may not look the same. It may, they may have changed some designs here and there. He may not move as fast, but it's still hitting all the beats. It's still a monster film through and through. Whereas with Final Wars, they don't know these other films. They're just to think that they went all the way back and watched all those films and did all that research with a crowd that was just saturated with MTV, they're not going to follow that. And so you have to go by their reactions as well. And their reactions were very, very lukewarm to Final Wars, whereas they were really great for Megaguirus.
Megaguirus was such a bust financially, and the regular Godzilla audience, they had to follow up Megaguirus with something that was tried and true, GMK, Giant All-Out Monsters Attack, which featured a new design of Godzilla that more matched the original design of Godzilla, the best design of Godzilla, and King Ghidorah and Mothra. And they had to do that because everyone was kind of done with Godzilla after Megaguirus, because they had a good momentum, like I said, with Godzilla 2000. They had a good momentum with, okay, we're reinvesting into Godzilla. We've got a little bit of a new design. Let's see if it works. And people were okay with it. But then In Megaguirus, the suit couldn't move. It all looked really, really rubbery and plastic, and Megaguirus looked terrible. The CGI was awful, and the suit was just a big puppet, looked like a big puppet. And the fight scenes, the battle scenes were absolutely horrible. You've got this clear wires still showing Megaguirus picking up Godzilla, and it looks like two dead animals just floating, being strung up through the air. It was horrible, and audiences hated it. So there's no way they were going to bring that back.
And yet audiences and yet audiences, not the Uber fans, but audiences still hated Final Wars less.
All right, and we're going now. Will can keep going because now we're going to get into the closings. Go ahead, Will.
Saying these films were only for the fans is a cheap way out of dismissing the critics' scores and the critics' reviews. The critical reviews for Megaguirus were vastly better than they were for Final Wars. Megaguirus, they're saying that the end of the day, all the critics said this was still a fun movie. We have some complaints, but it's still a fun movie. Whereas with Final Wars, again, if you are going to complain about a Godzilla plot and storyline being convoluted and hard to follow, that is really bad, considering Godzilla should be a very simple thing to follow. They were chasing trends with mutants, they added them in there. The aliens being known as X right after X-Men is way too hard to say that wasn't chasing a trend. Final Wars is a convoluted mess from start to finish. Megaguirus at least is a fun time, and you're still having fun making fun of its flaws, whereas with Final Wars it's just terrible.
All right, and now we're shoot it back over to Alan for his final minute when he's ready.
If we're going to base it off of fun, if you ask any Godzilla fan or any person coming into it and they watch these two films back to back, they're going to remember Final Wars because of its madness, its insanity, and they see a lot of monsters they've heard of and they know. They see them on T-shirts. They see them on posters. Legendary, even with King of the Monsters, brought back the three major ones to put inside their new MonsterVerse because people love these. They want to see those creatures. No one remembers Megaguirus. Nobody's got the toys. Final Wars gave us the best version of Gigan ever. I mean, an absolutely incredible version of Gigan, who was a joke in the Shoya era, but became a kind of a badass. In his final form with the chainsaw hands was amazing and incredible. Also, it gave us something we wanted to see. Godzilla destroy the original Godzilla, destroy that stupid Matthew Broderick one in 2 seconds flat. It was awesome. So it was way more fun. Megaguirus, forgettable.
All right. What a good round, guys. I'm going to go ahead and add... Wait. I'm going to add me back in here. Take out these goobers. I don't know what's going on with them. But so we'll go ahead and add in our judges. Alrighty here. I didn't do any specific order there. And I don't have any fact checks, but I do want to say I do have the Godzilla collection on Criterion. We will be starting watching these soon. We meant to watch the first one because it's like a horror movie. So maybe in September, October. Looking forward to that. But we will go to Chris for our first judgment here. Chris, who'd you pick? Why'd you pick him? And then keep it to around 30 seconds or so.
As I try to put my face away from the timer screen, which is blocking me a little bit. There we go. Okay, so this was interesting. I'm not the Godzilla fan. I only seen the on-the-day stuff. But it was interesting back and forth. But I decided Mod, especially for passion for it, and I think that he brought the fact Alan got my vote. I think he knocked against his movie and his defensive role of mentioning the option that he brought back into modern day, and then, had the movie, had Wire being shown and everything. Yeah, Alan got my vote by the side of Mod.
All right. So one vote goes to Alan. So we'll go down to Jeremy. Same thing. Who'd you pick and why?
Alan got my votes because he had a counter for everything Will brought up, like the aliens and the X-Men ripoffs. Alan had the context for why from the older movies and stuff like that. He had the better audience score. He had a better counter with that. So just Alan's ability to go back at will, I kind of won it because they both make good points, but I'm going to give the point to Alan.
Wow, shocking. Alan won the Godzilla point. There we go. So we'll throw that in there. Thank you, judges. We'll get to Carrie next time, and we'll go ahead and take out all the judges. Pop in the competitors again here. And we'll get to the second question.
To be fair, the last time I faced Alan, I actually won the Godzilla point.
That's true. He did.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right, baby. Found it out.
Leads, I guess. All right. Question number 2. Interesting. Okay. I don't know if this is a strength question, maybe, by that response. But what is the worst movie that Steven Soderbergh wrote or produced but didn't direct? I guess that's or produced. I don't know if that's and.
It's or.
Or, okay.
It's or, yeah.
There we go. That is the question. I don't have much to say about this. I've already said the question, so I'll go ahead and let them fight this out. I'll take my man. All right, this is fun. All right, take me out. Here we go. All right, and we'll go ahead. And so we have Alan going first on this question. Let me get that timer back in there. And all right, Alan, you can go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
Prolific Soderbergh, a prolific director, writer, producer that he is. There's a lot of films that are definite winners, but we had to choose something that wasn't directed by him, that was either produced or written by Soderbergh, and something that should have been a slam dunk. I mean, absolutely should have been a slam dunk. And I don't think you can blame only him. I think you got to blame a lot of people for this film that really had no reason not to be something absolutely incredible. And I chose Ocean's 8. I mean, first of all, you got the legacy of the Ocean's films that most everybody loves, the Ocean's trilogy. And then you've got this momentum of, hey, let's put a little bit of a spin on it and add a legacy character, in a way, a sister to Danny Ocean, and let's have an amazing female cast that should rock this out of the park. And it was a dud. It was just kind of boring. So no excuse for that. So Ocean's 8, terrible.
All right. And we'll go to Will with his opening minute when he's ready.
So, post Sex Lives and Videotape, Soderbergh had some interesting films come out, we'll say the least. The most interesting one was 1997's Night Watch, starring Ewan McGregor as a law student who is, basically has a job as a security guard in a hospital. This should have been a great film. It should have been a great horror film, especially since the guy who made the Danish version in 1994 helped Soderbergh write and direct this film, and somehow they went from a critically praised film that actually won awards in 1994 to this complete incoherent bullshit of a mess in 1997. Thank God he found his footing again in 2000s with great films like Traffic. But when you look at Night Watch and it's just clumsiness and just poorly used horror tropes, this is just an abysmal film.
All right. Did you actually say what the title was?
Yes, Night Watch.
Okay. Yeah, just wanted to throw that up there for the judges. I didn't hear it, but they probably did. So that's what matters. All right. So now we're going to go to the 2 minutes and back to Alan when he's ready.
It's interesting that we picked 2 films that were kind of based off of, previous entries or films, kind of interesting in a way, because you've got to think about, if you're doing that, if you're rebooting, if you're remaking, if you're doing something, creating off of a previously enjoyed film series, then you should, really be careful with, okay, how are we going to do this? What should we do here? And you can't rely upon, okay, we'll have an awesome cast, but the story really has to be kind of interesting. I mean, with Night Watch, you get an interesting story, and I think a really cool performance by Ewan McGregor. Honestly, he wasn't boring at all. It was kind of energetic and exciting and interesting. And you got a lot of other character actors in that film. With Ocean's 8, you've got a stellar cast that are bored on screen themselves, whether that was the script or just the way it was directed. I don't know, but it was really, really boring. I was really shocked. There was no witty banter back and forth. Sandra Bullock was sleepwalking through this thing, and there was no real connections between characters. The character I thought the actor I thought did the best, who's not really an actor, was Rihanna. She was great, but still at the same time, because at least that was interesting. But you've got these really incredible actors telling this story that should work. This should work. If you're doing a heist film and you've got to build upon heist films that quite frankly are really, really amazing. I mean, Ocean's 12 isn't the most loved of the three, but it has a really interesting story and a really interesting heist. Ocean's 8 doesn't even have an interesting heist. It's kind of dull, boring, and a retread. So it was kind of shocking with how bored I was. I was excited to see this film. It was my most anticipated film that year. And going into it, I just thought, wait a minute. There's nothing happening. There's no witty banter. There's nothing that makes the Ocean's movies great. And what's the missing piece? What is it? I'm not sure if you could pinpoint what it is, but there's just enough misses where it was just an unremarkable and forgettable film.
All right. And now we're going to go over to Will for his 2 minutes whenever he's ready.
So I'm not sure what film Ellen watched, but Ocean's 8 has a lot of the wit that all three Oceans, all Ocean's previous films had. If you're not going to call the banter that Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett have as witty, then I don't know what is. The one great thing about Ocean's 8 as well is they do something that the previous three films did not do. They actually gave reasons not for why Sandra Bullock, Danielle Ocean was doing the heist, but why every single other person was doing that heist as well. Mindy Kaling's character wanting to get money to move out of her mom's house. You have Sarah Paulson trying to get that one last robbery itch out of her skull, so she's not just doing small time crimes in suburbia. You have a great performance from Awkwafina, which is her first, I believe, performance since she's technically retired from acting. Where you have, on the other hand, Night Watch. You want to call that performance exciting? I call it, when it's not being over the top, he's like whispering the entire time. It's such an abysmal film. It's poorly lit. The plot is just extremely ludicrous, where you have a necrophiliac serial killer, which is just gross to begin with. That's just absolutely disgusting. But literally, they took the same plot, they took all the same beats from the 1994 version, and won awards and won critics, won audiences, and they didn't do any of that with this. It's like they were just trying to coast by on the name of the film alone, trying to coast by on Steven Soderbergh's good name, which they pissed all over, and trying to coast on the recent success of Ewan McGregor, fresh off of Trainspotting. This film is just an incoherent mess from start to finish, whereas at least Ocean's 8 was fun, and while it has just a few hiccups here and there, it's still a vastly more fun movie than this.
All right, and that's time. So we're going to get into the open 4-minute discussion when anyone starts speaking. I said that better this time. Here we go.
True. Will, you said it yourself. They were coasting by, but you just meant to talk about Ocean's 8, where they were coasting by on all this stuff. And the banter between Cate Blanchett and Sandra Bullock was these long kind of, okay, your guys are talking, you understand you have a history of relationship, but it wasn't nearly as quick and exciting and as fun as Danny and or what's his name? Sorry, Brad Pitt and oh god, I'm blanking
George
on his
Clooney.
name too. George Clooney. There you go. They had one line, one beat. They were finishing each other's sentences. They were truly a pair, and they worked well together, and they were simpatico the whole time. There was none of that feeling with Blanchett and Bullock.
And yeah, I don't see where you're coming from on that. It may have been a little, it may have been maybe slightly slower because lo and behold, these are two different characters and a different writer, but that's still what they're saying may not be coming as rapid fire, but it's still hitting all the right notes. It's still hitting all the right beats. You're getting the.
Not if it's boring.
It's not boring at all. Where you could,
I was bored. I don't wanted not to be bored. Again, I love these actors, but I was really just bored, and I don't remember anything about it. I couldn't tell you. I forgot Mindy Kaling was in it, to be honest with you, until you brought. Well, oh yeah, she was in it. Because I just forgot her character. It didn't. There were no stakes. You had motivations, stakes for every single character in the original Ocean's trilogy, and there was none of that with Ocean's 8. And they had a nice blueprint to work off of. At least with Night Watch, there was something interesting going on. Yeah, it was a necrophilic serial killer. That's gross, yes, but that's the point of what he is. He's a serial killer, and he's kind of creepy and weird, and this is gross, and how would I react in this situation? And I thought Ewan McGregor was energetic and exciting. Yes, he was coming off a Train Spotting, which, come on, how are you going to top that? But that's why they went with him. It was a better way to try to make that story compatible with an American audience. Did it hit all the right notes that the original film did? No, but they weren't trying to do that conversion with Ocean's 8.
And yet conversions like this happen all the time, and it works just as well, if not better, than the original. When Ringu came over and was the Ring, it worked. When Insomnia came over from Denmark and was translated by Christopher Nolan, it worked extremely well. Whereas this has the same people in it. It had the same writer and director that Steven Soderbergh helped out write the script for this, and then somehow they still faltered. They still had the same movie beat to beat, and somehow it didn't work this time around. So you can't blame American audiences on that. Whereas here, at least you may not have liked Ocean's 8, but you know who did? Critics. 69% on Rotten Tomatoes versus the I believe was a 46% on Rotten Tomatoes for Nightwish. Dramatic difference.
Yep, and then I know you love the critics scores, but you got to look at that people score, the audience score, and for Ocean's 8, it's 47, bro. It's 47, man. Again, it's a bomb. It was a stinker. It was a stinker.
For Nightwish, it's still lower. For Nightwatch,
it's neck and neck. At least it's not critically acclaimed as far as Nightwatch. And at least Nightwatch was trying to do something a little bit different.
Okay, but Ocean's 8
I thought his performance was interesting.
But Ocean's 8 was also one of the horrible examples of review bombing, because people are sexist sometimes, and they decided that they drove the score down. It was actually a documented fact that was review bomb, so you cannot hold that against it. And still, even with the review bombs, the score
I don't hold that against it.
Higher than that. Where if you're going to use the
I don't hold that against it. I hold it was boring against it. It was a boring film.
All right. Fire discussion there. All right, so now you guys can. That's fine. Now you guys can close it out. Alan, you're closing whenever you are ready.
I'm just going to go back to something that should have been really, really incredible and had all the right reasons to be incredible. I'm gonna throw it out. It was just unforgettable and boring. I really was disappointed by Ocean's 8, and it had everything working for it. And so, maybe Soderbergh could have saved it by directing himself. Something, maybe that was what it was. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure, but it's something that just didn't work. At least Night Watch had an interesting premise. I thought a really interesting performance by Ewan McGregor. I think Ewan McGregor is a top-notch actor. Even when he's asleep at the wheel, he's still pretty interesting and pretty exciting. And it was a creepy, a creepy little film, little suspense thriller. So, that at least has that going for it. Whereas Ocean's 8 is unforgettable, and that's really unforgivable, which is why I think it's a far worse film, and the worst of the produced Soderbergh films is Ocean's 8. It had no reason to be as bad as it was and as boring as it was.
All right, now Will's turn. Whenever he's ready.
I'm definitely going to exploit the fact that he accidentally said that Ocean's 8 was unforgettable. So, oops, it's a little slip there, but he's right. Ocean's 8 was absolutely unforgettable. Robbing the Met Gala is great. Having these great performances from Anne Hathaway, Mindy Kaling, Helena Bonham Carter, Kate Blanchett, and Sandra Bullock, as well as Awkwafina and Rihanna, great. This film may not be as may not be as memorable as the Ocean's films, but that's not the question. The question is which is the worst. And calling Ocean's 8 the worst film for this particular category is hyperbole at its finest. Whereas with Night Watch, he even admitted himself that he was clearly coasting, that he was clearly on cruise control, which, yeah, that's not great. Ewan McGregor cannot carry a film by himself, and it is absolutely proven here.
All right. Great round, guys. I'm going to kick y'all out. Yeah, thumbs up. All right. Nope, I removed me from the stream. Here we go. Add me back in. And for not Chris's sake, but Jeremy's sake, I will remove the timer pre. I think I got this order right. All right. So, yeah, again, really no fact checks here. Mostly opinion there, I believe. I think they got all those Rotten Tomatoes scores right and stuff. So we'll go over to Jeremy. Who'd you pick and why? And don't take too long.
I voted for Will on this round. Alan kind of got stuck on it just being boring. He didn't really give anything else. And Will talked about how his movie was set up for success and failed, whereas a lot of other movies following that trend had succeeded in the U.S. So my point goes to Will.
All right, cool. Carrie, same thing to you. Who'd you pick and why?
Okay. I actually went with Alan here. I thought both competitors did really great and were pretty neck and neck at countering each other's arguments throughout the match. For me, it came down to closings. And I think overall, Alan just gave a little bit more about why his film was the worst and why Night Watch was at least maybe a passable film, had some interesting bits in it. Overall, though, great arguments from both competitors.
All right, totally. All right, we have a split. Chris, decide it for us. Who'd you pick and why?
Alan, we do have a talk afterward about the argument here, but I went with, by the slight margin, just a really good match. I went with Will. I think he knock again, Night Watch with the translation. McGregor thing, even though I don't entirely agree with him not being a good leading actor here, but yeah, he got more argument. Alan was just stuck in the film being just boring. So which I heard more than just boring and such.
All right, totally. All right, so thank you, judges. Let's remove them from the stream. Let's bring back in our competitors. All right, so Will got that point. Put that up there. It is a tied match, guys. So let's go into that third question. Question number 3 concerns, I'll just say it, Marvel films. So let's get that question out there. It is, what is the most underrated Marvel series of films? The series is 2 or more films starring the same actor as the lead hero. Let's find out what those are now. All right, get that ticker in there. All right, remove myself that way. All right, so we could just switch it so we know the order. Okay, let me get that timer back in. Cool. Nope, don't start it yet. Cool. All right, Will, tell us about this, most underrated Marvel series of films. Whenever you are ready, your opening 60 seconds will start.
So as highly tempting as it was to choose Venom and watch everyone's head explode as I tried to defend that, I chose a film that I actually chose a franchise that I absolutely love and have gotten a lot out of over the years of watching them. I chose the Kingsman series. Starting from the the Secret Service, it's just a dynamite spy film, just with lots of snark, just lots of satire. It felt like a Bond film if Bond didn't take itself seriously at all, and it followed up with a criminally underrated film in The Kingsman: The Golden Circle, which, yes, it hit hit a lot of similar beats, but at least it was still a lot of fun. And the King's Man, which a lot of people absolutely hate, and I don't really get a lot of the hate. I can understand why people might not like it as much as the first two, but saying that it's the worst film pretty much ever that Marvel has done, that's hyperbole.
All right, now we'll go over to Alan to find out what he thinks about this question. Whenever he's ready, you can start speaking.
I went with something that I think, in my opinion, and I could probably argue it with facts, numbers, things like that. But the film that started off the modern superhero film craze, desire, yearning, people wanting more superheroes in their life. 3 films that I think, well, 2 films I think are brilliant. The third one is kind of trash, I'm not gonna lie. But overall, it was good to see my personal favorite superhero back. And I'm talking about Blade. Blade is absolutely amazing and so far just underlooked. I don't think people give Blade enough credit, especially that Blade film. That first film, I'm gonna put that first film as my top, not only superhero films of all time, but my top 5 films of all time. I absolutely love and adore that movie, and a great follow-up with Blade 2. I don't think we talk about Blade enough. I think Blade needs to be remembered as way better than it is now.
Wow, that's definitely some high praise from Alan. So let's go back over to Will to get some high praise for his answer. Whenever you're ready, go ahead, Will.
So luckily, it's not just Alan that remembers Blade as the film that really started the whole, the whole resurgence of comic book films, because really history does as well. It may not be, it may not be talked about in Alan's circles a lot, but in the circles that I travel in with comic book geeks and everything like that, they still look at Blade as the as the pinnacle. It's still in a lot of people's top 10s, and even more so, Blade 2 sits even higher than that, where it was one of the rare sequels that actually elevated the material and actually made it made it a lot, made it even better. Do I feel that same way? No, but but history kind of backs that up. So really, you have 2 really loved films and 1 train wreck of a film. Whereas, so I would say that is pretty rated. I would say that's rated exactly where it needs to be. Whereas with Kingsman, the Golden Circle has some has a great villain in Pedro Pascal and Julianne Moore. It has it ups the satire. You get to meet the American counterparts with Jeff Bridges and with Channing Tatum and Halle Berry, and everyone's chemistry is so great in that. And everyone forgets that the Kingsman is even there, or people want to forget. It's a very compelling film. It's like, to me, it almost feels like a truncated version of 1917, where it actually shows some great war scenes. It actually has some great some great seeds that are sown that that you see later on, becoming of the group that eventually becomes the Kingsmen. It's a very compelling film from start to finish, even if it doesn't have all the same snark and satire as the first 2 films do. And that's exactly why this is completely an underrated franchise as a whole.
All right, there we go. Alan, your 2 minutes whenever you're ready.
As far as we're talking about underrated, I think Kingsman kind of underrated itself, and the reason I think a lot of people don't really remember it is because you just proved nicely, beautiful, thank you, that Blade, elevated that second film, elevated the first one. It really is incredible. But I hang out with all the same geeks and stuff like that, and people don't talk about Blade that much. Everybody that was a little bit excited about, Mahershala Ali is going to be the new Blade in the new MCU. But bro, we already had a Blade. We already got one. We've got, Blade was there. When Black Panther came out, everybody was talking, the first black superhero. Oh, Blade was there first. God, come on, guys. Let's give some love where it's due. I mean, yes, Black Panther's amazing. Love Black Panther, the character, fantastic. But Blade was there first. Okay, Blade was there. But with the problem with the Kingsman is they took a couple of really good ideas. The sequel, The Golden Circle, was pretty much a rehash of the first film. I think that's why it didn't get as hype and as excited about as that first film. With the American version, that was pretty interesting. There's a couple premises that they could have went with for a third movie or maybe in another spin-off film, but they went with a prequel. So they kind of killed their own momentum with, the two things we were excited about, the couple things we were excited about with the second film in The Kingsman, they didn't do anything with it, and they went back to do a prequel. Why did they do that? They destroyed their own momentum. So I think it's kind of the studio, the creator's fault that it's not really talked about as much because it kind of lost momentum along the way. The first one's very clever, but really the most memorable thing about that first one, honestly, is that amazing church scene and the way it was antithesized with the Leonard Skinner song. Really fascinating. But that movie trick has been done before in other films, so I think that's why people forget. Was that in Kingsman? Or was that in something else? I can't remember. I think they didn't do their own. I think they did this as a disservice by going backwards in that third film.
All right, so now we're going to get into the 4-minute open discussion. Someone speak, and I'll start the clock.
So the reason why they're actually excited for the Mahershala Ali film is because Blade Trinity just completely cratered the chance of Wesley Snipes coming back at all. And really, the only person
and tax evasion.
Exactly. My next point was actually going to be the person that you have to blame for everything. Why that film was absolutely train wreck, and the reason why we're not getting it is Wesley Snipes, either for the tax evasion or all the weird antics that he had on that set. But I do want to quickly hit on where you're coming from on the Kingsman because I don't see it at all. The first one is known for more than just the church scene. The church scene was considered an accomplishment in film. But then you also have great moments like the end sequence where he's fighting Gazelle. You have this deeply demented plot. You have this plays like a perfect R-rated Bond film, which the fact that we never got an R-rated Bond film before this is kind of mind-boggling. But with this film, beat for beat is wonderful, but that momentum did not really stop at all. Whereas with your film, it not only stopped, it cratered dramatically.
You're right, it did. The Blade Trinity is by no means anyone's favorite in that series. But they could have easily, it did go a TV show that actually is pretty decent. The Blade TV show is not bad. They had to recast Blade because Wesley was in jail, but that's all right. But I think the reason that you're praising Kingsman so much is, it was really, really good. But the question is, underrated Marvel series, people don't associate Kingsman with Marvel because it was a hard R film that was more of a James Bond kind of thing, and not really a Marvel thing. But Blade was definitely Marvel. That's a Marvel character, Marvel property. There's no question about it. This was before the Marvel Studios even was a thing. They didn't even know they were going to do it. They thought they were going bankrupt because their comics weren't selling anymore. So the fact that Blade kind of saved superhero films, but isn't really talked about when they talk about the great superhero films. Nobody really talks about Blade unless, they're super fans of it. But they talk about other films and, and other Marvel Studios films, but they don't talk about Blade, which is clearly a Marvel thing. I don't think people associate Kingsman with it because there's not much to associate with. It was from an offshoot comic and not really we think Marvel property. We don't think Kingsman.
Yeah, except you're absolutely blurring the lines between what a superhero film is and a comic book film is, and so that's where you draw the line. With Blade, you can't really save what didn't really exist. If you want to really say that anything between Superman 4 and any other comic property that came out during that time was something to be saved, you're wrong. It didn't just save it, it rebooted it. And it gave new lifeblood to it. And that's why it is heralded as what it is. And Blade 2 even elevates that. So it's really hard, you can't really call these underrated when everyone is just victory lapping these films for them, except for that third film. Whereas with Kingsman, it absolutely had the momentum and it had the box office to prove it. Now, the reason why we went with the prequel is the same reason why we didn't get Wesley Snipes for the series. Taron Egerton was doing something else. He was shooting the Rocket Man movie at the time that they were going to shoot this. So they decided to switch gears because Fox was really pushing them to make something, and so they said, okay, we need to make this little film, and they actually made a very clever movie. While it's not as snappy as the other one is, it's absolutely clever from start to finish, and it's still a great, compelling movie from start to finish.
It's kind of dire though, and the other ones weren't.
All right. Yeah. So, Will, your final minute of this round, whenever you're ready.
I'm going to address Alan's point, where he said that the film was dire, it was a little bit drab. But let's look at trilogies. The third film usually is the darkest one. The third film usually is the one that kind of shakes things up. Now, Back to the Future 3, Return of the Jedi. I can go on and on forever. So the third one needed to be a darker film, because from the dark we get the light. So as a prequel, and they knew it was going to be a prequel, we had to see the dark undertones of what that was going to be, so we can get the lighthearted, dark humored comedy from Kingsman 1 and 2. Whereas with Blade, the Blade series, that's perfectly rated and elevated, because you have Blade as a 8 or 9, you have Blade 2 as a 10, and you have Blade Trinity as a 3 at best, and that's rated.
All right, and that's time, and we'll go over to Alan for his final minute of the round whenever he's ready.
I think with that comparison with the dire, the third film needs to be a dire film. I think that works if you're working with the same characters you've been following through 2 other films. And Kingsman doesn't do that. It works with completely new characters and gets very dire and go, wait a minute, I have to adjust to, what is this? This is the origin of this organization. Great, but you didn't give me anything from the last film that I could latch onto. You didn't give me anything that you spun off to that I can latch onto and call this a true actual trilogy. Whereas Blade, yes, the reason Blade 3, the Trinity, failed is because of the director. You had all and poor casting on 2 parts, but you had all the perfect things lined up as far as story, continuation of Blade's story, how the real world's going to deal with Blade, how that's going to affect his relationship with the vampires. Then director kind of blew it up, but nobody really talks about Blade as much as they should be, up there with Superman, Batman, Iron Man, Blade.
And that's time. All right. Great round, guys. I'll take out the timer first. Take out the competitors. Bring me in. And then I will bring in the judges. I got Carrie. No, wait. Could you go first last time? That's right. So it's you, then it's Chris, then it's Jeremy. And I don't have any fact checks, but all I have to say is some motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill. That's Alan. So there you go. Carrie, who did you pick? Why? And don't take too long.
Okay, sorry. I picked Will. This was really close again. I think pretty neck and neck. I ultimately went with Will because I think he just gave a little bit more about why his film was actually underrated and kind of countered Alan's points about Blade being underrated by, kind of talking about how people do discuss Blade in exactly the type of way Alan was describing.
All right, great. So now, Chris, who'd you pick and why?
Yeah, this is a great argument, even though I want to know what movie we were watching with the Golden Circle. That's another discussion for another day. But yeah, I went with Will in the end. I definitely hit tactic that Blade be Herod, the upcoming combat movie, that Stay combat movie, and Kingsman, that's by the Golden Circle, that get taught a lot about, and his being everything with Kingsman overall for me.
All right, there you go. Will getting that third point. Take out the judges. Thank you, judges. We'll bring in the
second point.
Getting the third point that was up for grabs, I guess.
Okay.
All right, throw in that point system. Yep.
Because let's face it, I did not deserve to win that fucking first point.
Alrighty. So now we're going to go on.
We're alone, Alan.
I guess we just, we're so interesting that we just blew him. Oh, there he is.
I did the same thing again. I
He
did
exited himself.
I didn't get the joke until Will started laughing. So there we go. All right. Thanks, Will.
Nice.
You're doing great, Chad.
Thank you. I mean, I've done worse. I think the first time I did this, I was like,
Chad, look at
Great.
Chad, look at the first thing I ever hosted. No.
I think the first time I did it,
good.
I was like on screen while people were debating, and I was reacting to the debate. So there we go. I know it was ridiculous, but anyways, and then one time when I faced Alan, I interrupted him during his 2-minute round, and that was ridiculous. Yeah,
that's right. I forgot about that.
So anyways, Aaron, decide how much of this you want to keep in, but we're going to get to the question number 4 now.
Love you, bro.
And let's see, what is this? Oh,
what is this? Exactly. What is this?
Submitted question or a fan question, as Tato would say. So I added in here. It is submitted by Alejandro Hernandez.
Alejandro.
Great competitor there. And it's which director who's never made a musical should direct one, and what would it be? So there we go. I'll throw that ticker down there. Take that question out. Let's find out from these competitors. And is it Alan first this time? Yes.
I believe so.
Wow. All right. Alan, your time will start whenever you're ready.
All right. This was a very interesting question. And I'll be honest, this might hurt me. All right, I'm not going to lie. This might hurt me. I hate musicals. I'm not going to lie. I really don't like musicals. I'm sorry. I know we were talking earlier with the other people, and I think somebody said that they were accused of hating musicals. I actually do. And I'm a theater performer. I'm a director. I've directed musicals. I've directed musicals a lot. I mean, they were great. They were for the kids. The kids were great. It was great, but I'm not a big musical fan. So this was kind of hard for me. But I'm a huge fan of the director that I chose, Wes Anderson. I think Wes Anderson could do no wrong. There's only one film that I kind of don't like, but all the rest of his stuff I absolutely love. And I would love to see him do a musical. And the musical I chose for him to do would be Hair. I think he would do a fascinating. He's really good at a lot of different things, but I think with this musical with Hair, he would tell this story excellently and in his weird, quirky Wes Anderson way. So Hair by Wes Anderson. Let's make it happen.
All right, very interesting choice there. And now, Will, what'd you choose for this one? Let us know.
So, unlike Alan, I absolutely love musicals. So that's the reason why I chose the category. But when I thought about this, I decided to combine two of my favorite things. I decided to combine musicals with Rian Johnson. And no one does murder like Rian Johnson. And so I chose Rian Johnson to write and direct an adaptation of A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. Yes, it's a long title, but so is Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. So he's not, so he's clearly not, a stranger to long titles. But this one really hasn't had any real modern adaptation. It hasn't really, seen the theater, seen a movie theater before. And honestly, again, Rian Johnson bringing all of his skills to make a musical would be killer.
All right, he evoked the name of The Last Jedi. Great film there. No one disagrees with me on this one. All right, so Alan, 2 minutes whenever you're ready.
I think what Wes Anderson does brilliantly is he really works and sets a world around a time frame, whether it's the 50s, the 60s, the 70s area, and he really captures all of that through movement, and through the costumes, and really putting those together, and the performances from the actors. He really sets a time frame and a mood in that time frame really, really well. So I think with Hair, this musical, this 60s musical about the protest scene, I think he really could capture that quite nicely. He already directs like he's directing for the stage. I mean, everything is very, the fourth wall is here, forward facing, his sets. I mean, one of my favorite moments in any film is in Life Aquatic, when he pulls back the camera and you realize that set is real. That submarine is real. And they're going into the different rooms. That's a stage, man. That's beautiful and amazing. And I think he would really do well with taking this musical, and taking Central Park and taking these areas and really making it a beautiful stage production, but in a film, because he's already shown that he could do that. And one of my favorite songs in a musical, even though I don't like musicals that much, I do like some songs. I'll caveat that Little Shop of Horrors, I think, is one of the greatest, and that film adaptation is absolutely beautiful. But because it's pop music, and that's why I like more. But there's a song called Frank Mills in Hair, and I really want to see Edward Norton playing that song on guitar. I think it would just be perfect and brilliant, and really set up the characters Edward Norton plays for Wes Anderson. I really think it would be a cool moment. I just think he's made to make this particular musical about these hippies and about the time during war. He's already had that in his oeuvre, talking about war and protests and things like that. So I think this would fit in his wheelhouse, and I think it would really be quirky and fun and kind of beautiful to watch.
All right. Cool. Will, buddy, 2 minutes whenever you're ready.
So while I agree with Alan that Wes Anderson would make a really good musical, I don't think Hair is the right choice for him. I was thinking about this. I think Hairspray would have been a great choice. I think Grease would have been a good choice if you wanted a time period piece. But I think that Hair is just a little too serious of a subject matter for Wes Anderson to tackle, because even when Wes Anderson tries to tackle something more serious, it comes across as snarky and comedic, but that's just Wes Anderson's style. So that's why I don't think that this would work out very well for him. Whereas with A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, Rian Johnson is always trying to push himself to make a genre piece and turn that genre piece completely on its head. And what better way to do that by starting with a musical that already is something that's that's already taking a genre and turning it on its head. It's this movie, this play breaks the fourth wall a lot, and Rian Johnson loves to break the fourth wall. In his own snide little manner. You could get some of his returning favorites. You can get Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who is a great singer, which means that with him you can get Channing Tatum. You can get all these great people playing these characters. In this wonderful tale of intrigue and murder, trying to off like 7 people in order to become the wealthiest man alive, essentially, while trying to marry the woman he loves. So it's romance, it's murder, and it's music. And already we know that 2 of those things Rian Johnson does very well in previous films. He has done great romance with films like Brothers Bloom, and he has done great murder films with Looper, with Brick, and with Knives Out and Glass Onion. So add a musical to that, and you have a winner.
All right, cool. Now we're going to get into the 4-minute whenever anyone speaks.
I think, Will, why I chose Hair is because with the 2 examples you gave, Hairspray and Grease, we've got iconic film versions of that. People have those, the John Waters film and the Grease, they've got in their mind, they know what that is. The 79 film production of Hair was absolutely atrocious, and no one remembers it. So I think Wes Anderson could really put his stamp on something and say, okay, this is, something that we don't have a really good iconic representation of, so that's in the mass world out there. So I think it would be perfect, and it fits all his sensibilities. The dance sequences in Moonrise Kingdom, is that very ethereal kind of dance sequence in that weird kind of moment, or she's on the beach. I think, okay, that is perfect. With Hair, there's certain different sequences and songs and numbers that fits perfectly, that method of storytelling. With the backing out and showing the set works with other, perfect examples of storytelling. I think it would be really, really, it's kind of tailor fit for him.
So the problem though with Moonrise Kingdom is that Moonrise Kingdom, when you had some of those moments where you had like the dancing and things like that, you only had a couple, like one or two people in a frame, whereas with a musical you need to have a lot more than that. And that's one of the things that Wes Anderson doesn't always do well. He does not always do the group shot as well as he should, and that's one of the things that's going to hamper him. Plus plus the way that he shoots and lights, his films are shot and lit. It always comes across as, even the cinematography comes across as snarky and comedic, whereas with and so that's why with Hair being as serious of a film as it is, I don't think putting that kind of lens on there would be the right choice. Whereas with Ryan Johnson directing directing a musical in general, let alone Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, like the two Knives Out films, Knives Out and Glass Onion, already were so vibrant, were so we're so energetic, so quickly paced that that it would make it would take nothing at all to add music to that and make the actors sing, and you would have something great. But adding making him do the Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, where you have great you're gonna have these great set pieces combined with just these hilarious ways of offing people, with all with these great performances. Ryan Johnson's already doing this, and so it makes perfect sense to just automatically just transition him there.
But why would he do it? Why would he do it with a musical, though? You're right. He did great with Glass Onion, a great murder mystery kind of thing. So this sounds like it was a murder mystery originally. So why not just do it like that? Why add it? Why make it a musical? Why adapt it to a musical if he hasn't shown that he can do that? And Wes Anderson has done big group shots before. In Grand Budapest Hotel, there's sweeping moments with plenty of people in Asteroid City. In Darjeeling Limited, there's really nice shots where he composes the frame, and they're all there. And there's a lot of movement. There's a whole lot of movement going on in some of those scenes. I think he could easily transition it and make it his style, the way he films it. I can't compare your musical because it hasn't been created yet, which is great. It's ambitious, but why would he do that if he can already do it non-musical? Why would he do it?
So let me ask that, because you've taken a lot of this time on this round, to why he would do it. Because musicals, first of all, is one genre he has not upended right now. He has done action, he has done drama, he has done murder mystery, he has done comedy. He has turned all those genres on its head. So why not do a musical? Why not do something that's purely original? Why not do something that has been a Broadway success and been beloved for the last decade?
All right, and that was time there. So now we're going to go to the final minutes of the round for each competitor. And Alan, whenever you're ready.
I just think that doing the question, the nature of the question, yes, Wes Anderson hasn't done a musical, but he's gotten really close. Musicals, we think of musicals, especially I think of them as stage pieces, they're theater. And Wes Anderson kind of has a theater way of storytelling that he exhibits in his films. So I think he would be, and setting up a time frame. I think he's explored the 60s a little bit here and there, but I'd really like to see what he could do with this story. Even when there's dramatic moments in a lot of his films, he finds ways to make it quirky and weird and strange. And there's a whole lot of that in Hair. I mean, there's a 10-minute song about hair and the power of the hair and the power of what the protest means and all this stuff. If anybody can find the humor and the quirky and the weird in that, I think it's Wes Anderson. And I think that would really be exciting to see. And it'd be a whole new thing for him to do a musical, and it would be cool and fun.
All right. And Will, whenever you're ready, final minute.
The last time that Wes Anderson really did an adaptation was The Fantastic Mr. Fox, which was already a quirky property, but he added too much quirk to it, which is why a lot of people don't remember this film. Whereas, so having Wes Anderson do something that was already kind of quirky but ultimately serious, I think would add too much quirk to that, and that's why it just wouldn't work. And that's even not from the technical aspects, which I don't think that he can do with that kind of musical. Stage play, yes. Musical, no. Whereas with with Rian Johnson doing Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, this is already a great piece that people have already loved in the theater community, so why not bring it to the film? Why not bring it to film? And it already has bizarre ways of killing people, it has great comedy, it has great deep story, and on top of it, it has some of the best music you'll hear in a musical, and Rian Johnson would elevate all of that material.
All right, great round, guys. Now, let's bring in those. Oh shoot, I forgot that. Oh no, it's Chris first this time. Let me also bring in myself though. Chris, and then Jeremy, and then Carrie. I think that was the first one. So we're back to this arrangement. All right, Chris can
Get rid of that timer.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. Yes,
Yeah.
there we go. All right, Chris. You can explain whatever you were trying to do, I guess, but also tell us who you voted for and why. You're muted, buddy. Yeah.
This is an amazing match. I love both CG Church. I love here, and I do love Gentleman Guide to Love and Murder. Got the playbill right here. I went to get it. I have the hair playbill somewhere in my room. I just couldn't find it. But yeah, these are great choices. Both great director choices. Both came into my mind, and they were both great choices. I went with, as much as I love Alan's choice, I went with Will. I just think he pointed out everything with Rian Johnson. Rian Johnson love for musical theater. Rian Johnson's idea of doing the murder mystery thing. I think it worked, and how it worked well with Gentleman Guide to Love and Murder. Yeah, but also both great choices, but Will got my vote.
All right, perfect. Now let's go to Jeremy. Let's see who he voted for and why, and let's see if we're ending this now, if we're going to a blind round potentially. Jeremy.
I want to see both of these musicals, and that says a lot for like the arguments that these guys made. It's very, very close, back and forth, back and forth. Ultimately, I had to give it to Will. His point about Rian Johnson taking each genre and then reinventing it and reinvigorating each one, and then just that musicals will be in the next logical step is a great point. And that was the one that kind of just pushed it over the edge. Otherwise, it was 50-50. So Will gets my point.
All right. Thank you very much, judges. And your winner, the virtuoso, Will Cohen. All right. What's up, buddy? How do you feel after that win, man? 7-5 now.
I think this is only the second time in my Battleground career where I have lost the first point and then just ran with the other three. The last time I did this was against John Marr, which it's actually a very apt comparison if you think about it, because in that match against John, he also gave me the first question in round one was also a question I was not equipped to handle, because it's John talking about Alexander Aja, or however the fuck you pronounce his name, and here it's discussing monster movies with Alan, which the only person who's equipped to do that is Austin Pez. Austin Pez Howell, for fuck's sake. So I knew for a fact I wasn't winning that first one. I was, especially since I didn't, little behind the scenes. I tried to watch both those films, and I got 5 minutes into one of them, said, fuck it, I'm not watching either. And so I spent all day today just gathering mental notes on, from the goddamn Wikipedia pages to prepare for this. But this was the battle I was anticipating, but this was not the result I was anticipating. We'll say that. I was hoping I would win, especially since the last two questions, I felt like I had I had the slightly better edge in the third question, and I knew I could nail the fourth question if it made it to the third question. I'm not gonna lie. By the time I lost the first point, I thought maybe I'm gonna get knocked out. Who knows?
Yeah,
But
man. I mean, I am a little surprised because Alan's really good. So it's like one of those things. I was thinking we probably would go to the blind round because I think you both are like pretty evenly matched. Pretty similar rankings. In the tournament. And it was going to be kind of an interesting blind round question. I won't reveal it here though. We'll get it at some point in another match. But yeah, no, you did a great job. I think 2 of those rounds were like unanimous. So yeah, you kind of knocked it out of the park, and it seems like you're feeling good about it, which is great.
yeah, Alan's a great competitor. He's a great guy. I love him.
Yeah. But I can tell you this: you're going on to play Jay Burns. I've lost to Jay Burns. A lot of people have. He's really good. He likes to bullshit a little bit there, but yeah. How do you feel about trying to handle that storm of bullshit?
So a little behind the scenes here. I was actually supposed to play Jay last year before you gave me your seed in the summer tournament last year, which I gladly took because I had never been in a debate tournament before. So this is something that I kind of feel has been a long time coming in Battleground. I have battled him on a View Askew War Room over on a Henry Confidential's channel, and I came in second versus Jay's third, I believe, which was a very interesting thing. So I think this is going to be a completely different animal entirely, and it'll be really interesting to see 2 people who love to thrive on chaos be put together in the same room. Again, it's going to be one of those matches that if Aaron isn't already drinking, he's going to start.
Yeah, very well said. And as much as Jay is a different animal from Alan, I guess is how you're putting it. I think you guys both have similar styles, so I'm very interested to check that match out. If I'm involved in it in any capacity, that might be fun. If not, I'll watch it and I'll have a really good time. But no, congratulations, Will,
Thank
on
you.
the win. I wish you luck in the rest of the tournament, and maybe we'll end up playing each other. And again, and that could be fun or scary. I don't know. But yeah, I'll go ahead and drop you out. Congrats again. And I'll bring in the unfortunate loser for today, Dr. Spaceman, Alan Shepard. Let me go ahead and switch out. Bring in, you are now 4-4, and unfortunately, you're most likely done for, I think, the season. But that's just the rest of the year, and then we'll start up new matches and stuff like that. I do have just a couple questions. Well, one was a comment, and I actually really dug your Wes Anderson pitch personally. I thought that was pretty incredible. I myself and my wife are doing a Wes Anderson binge right now because over in my channel, Chadwick Webb, we're doing a Wes Anderson ranking. So I'm excited to finish watching a lot of ones I haven't seen in a while. But yeah, your pitch I actually really, really liked. And me and my wife are interested. What is the Wes Anderson film that you don't like?
Isle of Dogs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I really wanted to because I really liked Fantastic Fox. So I was thinking, hey, this will be, yeah, it just wasn't it. I mean, if I had the choice between watching that and some other movie by another director, I'm gonna go with the Wes Anderson because I do love him so much.
Yeah.
But it's my least favorite. It's my least favorite of all of them.
Yeah, he's a great director. And I need to rewatch that one. I saw it in the theater. I don't remember much about it, but yeah,
Exactly.
How did you think the match went? It seems more competitive than the score at the end of the day. But yeah, how did you feel about the match overall?
I thought that was fun, man. Again, the main reason I'm here is it's fun, and I love me some Will because he is as passionate about his stuff as I am, and that is a beautiful thing. You know, when you get two people that are super passionate about what they're talking about, it's entertaining, it's fun. I hope the audience likes these watching this episode. Yeah, Will's great, man. He had brilliant points. And I thought he was just so much fun. It's always fun with him. And I remembered our last battle, but I couldn't remember who won it. So I was going, oh, wait. So now I guess we won one. So I guess we're going to have to do a third one day. So there we go, the tiebreaker. Yeah, Will's fantastic. And the only thing I'm sad about is I want to go against Jay Burns. Come on, man. Baby, I got to give me some Jay Burns one day. It'll happen.
Yeah, I want to see all these matches. I want to see the third tiebreaker match between you and Will, and I want to see you versus Jay. But we'll both have to settle, I guess, for now for watching Will versus Jay. So, but no, I thought you did fantastic in the match. You know, despite the loss, and I can't wait to see you back. I guess next year, unless something I don't know happens. But no, great job, and always great to see you. Mahalo.
Mahalo, brother. Thank you, and good job hosting, and good job with the wife, with the baby, all the stuff, man. Good job. And if you ever need somebody to come talk about Wes Anderson, you know, I'm your boy. I'll come. I'd love to do it. Be fun.
Sounds great. All right, thank you, Alan. We'll go ahead and kick you out, and then we will close out the thing. Yeah, this was a really great match. I had a lot of fun watching those two duke it out. They got pretty passionate or heated, whatever you want to call it. No, but congrats to Will there on a well-fought match. Yeah, and go ahead and check out a lot of the other videos that we have here. There's a lot of great matches out there, and we're still in the midst of this tournament, and it's just going to keep heating up until, you know, we finally get to the end. And I'm very excited to see it. I'm excited to see how I do and how a lot of these other great competitors do. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, check out other videos, and yeah, thanks for watching.